a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
WESN.
Hello there, welcome to AM Prime on WESN Content Capital. I'm Keaton Shaw. Thank you very much for joining us this morning as we get straight into the program. It's not often that I have the opportunity to start the show with some really exciting news and some really good news for that fact. But it's also a reminder that there is so much to celebrate in Trinidad and Tobago. Over the last year, it's been victorious and really celebratory for steel pan, the steel pan instrument, and steel pan music across TNT, with World Steel Pan Day first being recognized last year, to the geographical indicator in respect to international copyright laws, Trinidad and Tobago being recognized as that geographical indicator for the invention of the steel pan. This year really has been extraordinary. But a part of this story is also the history of steel pan, one which many Trinbagonians probably are not aware of. Whilst we appreciate the sweet sounds of the instrument, do we know its roots? Do we know just how important it is culturally for Trinidad and Tobago? How does it play a part of our identity as a people? Well, in his latest works, author A. Bukarene explores just that and takes readers on an extraordinary journey through the origins and innovations that shape steel pan into a global symbol of cultural pride and creativity. His book not only focuses on the roots and the history of steel pan, but also the birth of the Trinidad All-Stars Steel Orchestra. Metal and Metal is his latest works, and we are joined this morning by the author of that book, Mr. Rennie. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, ma'am. Thank you for having me, man.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Indeed, it is a pleasure. Let me start by asking about your relationship, that is the author, Mr. Randy, your relationship with steel pan the instrument and steel pan the music.
Well, I was born in Sawa, in 1946 at the corner of the Santa Cruz Road and Quarry Drive. And we lived there for about 10 years. And then we moved from there to Tonopuna. And at the corner of St. Augustine Circular Road and Ramdale Lane. And obliquely opposite that new house, that new residency that we took up, was a steel band, Cinco Peters. This was about 1957. I was about 10 years old by the time we moved up to Tonopuna. And I remember hearing from the guys who functioned in the steel band a lot of stories about early steel band development. And I remember one interesting story that they kept repeating, that the biggest pan that was ever made was played in Monarch Cinema around 1947. And it was so big that one man was holding the pan on the left side, and another man was holding the thing on the right side, and the fellow who was playing the pan was in the middle, playing this pan with his cap turned around and playing this pan. And I heard that over and over, and I always thought that this was some sort of sheet metal, because at my age, I already knew the 45-gallon drum pan and whatnot. So I want to know, what is this huge thing? And they were very strong about this bigness, you know. In fact, it was something else. And I remember that, but my father ran me out of that pan yard, because he didn't like my association with these older fellas there. But he went and buy a second-hand piano. And I refused to have anything to do with this second-hand piano. All right? But I graduated from Tonopuna EC School, and I ended up in St. Mary's College and whatnot. And when I went to St. Mary's College, I met a lot of guys from around Port of Spain who had connections with pan and whatnot. And I started developing an interest in that whole thing. When I left St. Mary's College, I went away to Sir George Williams University in Canada, ended up in jail there because we had a situation there where we fought against racism, not being given our marks and whatnot. Some of us ended up in jail and whatnot. I myself ended up in jail for about a month and all of that. And after I came back, I started doing a history of the steel band thing. By that time, I got to know Neville Jules. There were people from my St. Mary's days who held positions in All Stars Band and all of that. So I was able to go and talk with these people. And I remember interviewing Neville Jules one day. And he said to me, suddenly, you know, Booker, one of the things I remember, I and Neville Jules, I and Ellie Manet went to a competition in around 1947 in Monarch Theatre in Tonopuna. And we went up with our little 8-note pans. 8-note pans held on one shoulder and played with one stick. He said, and while we were there, a guy from Tagariga took part in the competition, but he had this pan, one man holding it on one side, on the left, another man holding it on the right, and this guy with his cap turned around playing this pan in the middle. And I almost collapsed. So I said, Neville, I heard that story when I was about 10 years. Wasn't that sheet metal? He said, no, Mr. Rennie, that was the first 45-gallon drum.
You have quite a deep history with the steel pan instruments. Even so, you also had a personal relationship with Neville Jules.
Yes.
So the title in itself, if I go back to your story just now and how you gave historical context as well, you also, as the author, seem to have quite a strong link with the title Metal and Metal. Of course, metal, M-E-T-T-L-E, being really the courage to carry on.
Right. much of the story of this steel pan thing has to do with the reaction of the people of Trinidad and Tobago to the rigid control enforced on them by colonial racist governments in the past. African drums, which was made of the trunk of trees and covered by skin, animal skin, that was subjected to rigorous control by the colonial governments, right? The slave masters apparently feared the messages that was coming out from the drumology of those days. So they were very skeptical about messages being sent to people all around Trinidad and water. And so they kept a rigid control on the drum, on the African drums. And as a result of that, African drums were driven into the underground and was confined to the subculture of the Orisha and Shango religion. All right. The African people turned to bamboo. Since they couldn't use the drum, they turned to bamboo and they created what was called a bamboo tambo. Okay? And the bamboo tambo, they were trying to get a similar thing with the different type of African drums that they have. They had the cutters, they had the fule, which was a kind of blend of the cutting, and the boom, which was the rhythm, the thing. All right? But again, another problem arose. The bamboo is very fragile. And they had to go way up in the mountainside and the rivers and things to cut bamboo and bring down the different kinds of bamboo to have this bamboo tambo thing. And then bamboo was very fragile because you keep beating it and it will disintegrate. All right? So then in 1938, as something happened, some fellas was involved in a riot on Carnival Day. And it was said that some of them had sharpened bamboos, had sharpened the end of bamboos and was using it like spears. So the government at the time of the day decided to ban that, to ban bamboo. It was then that the carnival revelers had no choice but to turn to some kind of pan, right? And that is when the whole concept of the pan thing came in. But what was interesting in too, and I learned this from Neville Jules, around 1907, I think the U.S. Atlantic Fleet visited Trinidad, and the military bands became very popular, and they were encouraging people in the different communities to get involved in military type bands, right? And a lot of people went into that because it's the rhythm of the kettle drum, understand, and the bass and whatnot. And people was into that for a while. And then somebody in 1940, fellas from All Stars, and in those days the guys was Big Head Hamill, and the captain was a guy by the name of just a minute, Eric Stowe, and Big Head Stammer with the two fellas. They made a 3-note pan. And they went and they cut a record backing up Roaring Lion called Lion O. That was done in 1940. All right? And that took off. When that was recorded, it went worldwide. That 1940 pan thing. And from that, people began to go more towards the pan thing. And in 1945, Neville Jules made a 4-note pan that could play melodies. And he gave it to Fish Eye that carnival, and they played 3 pieces of music. Right? The music that they played was Alan Ladd's Gun for Hire, which was a piece of music that they got from a movie. You Want to Come Kill Me, which was a calypso by Roaring Lion. And another one, Do Re Mi by Radio, which was also a calypso, a calypsonian. And those three pieces of music was played on the road in 1940. And that went, again, internationally. People who had come to Trinidad for the carnival took that story away and whatnot. And books were written, pamphlets were written about this four-note pan that was created by Neville Jules.
You know, I was reading a synopsis of the book, and you focused on Trinidad All-Star Steel Orchestra. And I myself was trying to understand the link between the development of steel pan and the orchestra itself. And you explained it so brilliantly that the pioneers of Trinidad All-Star Steel Orchestra also had a pivotal role in the development of the instrument itself.
Yes, yeah. Neville Jules didn't leave it there. He did a tune boom. And there was an interesting relationship between Neville Jules and Ellie Manet, that everything that Neville did, he used to go take it down to Ellie Manet to show Ellie Manet. He made a tune boom too, right after he did that four-note pan in 1945. He did a tune boom, which was a bigger pan, tuned to back up the tether pan, right? But he didn't stop there. He kept doing things and giving other people it to play, telling them how he wanted it to play, right? So he did a pan that he called Quattro pan. It was copied by the leader of Cinco, and that leader called it a guitar pan, and he named guitar stop. So from Quattro pan to guitar pan, right? Then he made an alto pan, which was higher than the tenor, right? To give a kind of harmonization, right? And then he developed the basses. He developed the basses, 3-note bass, then 4-note bass, then put 2 and 3 pans together and extend the bass. So in fact, he actually visualized and put together the steel orchestra, Neville Jules.
Well, I mean, you've also laid out an argument for Neville Jules to be honored in your book, and for Helyard to actually be renamed in his honor as well.
Yes, because Helyard was the birthplace. Alsa's Yard today is not referred to as Helyard, but that was named Helyard. That was the name of the yard. And the fact hell, the concept of what a hell is exactly what it was in those days. Life was hard. And if you listen to the old men talk about how they lived in those days, it was very strenuous, and how people lived with one pair of shoes, one sneakers, and if your sneakers get wet, you're barefoot, and they had to go and buy meals from a lunch place on Charlotte Street and whatnot. And if you don't have money, I mean, you just can't eat. So sometimes they used to just go and pick breadfruit from in the very yard, in her yard, and make the big breadfruit cook in the yard, and that kind. So them fellows sustain themselves in that kind of way, right? Under that kind of pressure, until they were able to do better in the situation. Right?
So, Mr. Reddy, who really are you hoping to target with this book being published? I mean, what do you really want people to gain during this?
First of all, I think the Steel Orchestra is a gift from Trinidad to the world. All right? It's a gift to the world because the steel band is now all over the world and is accepted and is utilized all over. And you from Los Angeles to Japan, right? In fact, if you check Pan Trinbago will tell you about all the Trinidad-style carnivals that take place all over the world today, in which steel pan is being used, right? And the whole concept of a carnival, of a Trinidad-style carnival, follows as a result of all of that. So I am saying is that we, in fact, have presented a gift to the world. That is what the steel pan is. And I'm saying that the people who, like Neville Jules and Ellie Manning, and these people should be seriously honored for the work that they do in doing that. And of course, we also have to talk about the guy, the Barbadian guy, Solia, who was involved in that took TASPO. The group that went to England was handled by this guy.
It's Lieutenant.
Yeah, the name slipping right now, but yeah, but we know who we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
That guy was one of the, he fine-tuned also and helped them with the tuning and whatnot, because he was saying that there must be semitones in the tuning of the pans, and he was very rigid about that. So by the time they reached England, he had helped them to develop the bass, the second pan, and the guitar pan and the tenors, right? And that is how they went to England. And the impact that they had in England was great. And as a result of that, the pan took off, right? And I am saying that these people must be honored in some way for what they had done in terms of providing a gift to the world that is now being utilized all around the world.
Well, Mr. Rennie, where can people gain a copy of this book? Where is it available?
Well, right now, the book is available at All Stars Yard.
Okay.
Right? Corner of Duke
and Edward.
Duke and George.
Duke and George.
Neville Jules Circle. Right? That is where the book is available right now. You could go there at any time and purchase the book. All right?
Wonderful. Yeah. I guess I hope you will be there. I'm pretty sure some people will want to get it all.
Yeah, and what I tend to do is to be there most likely on a Friday afternoon, because a lot of people, when they buy the book, would like me to autograph it. So I'm there. I'll kind of make take pledge to the band that I'll be there to autograph books. So
well, Mr. Rennie, I have to thank you for not only for this publication, but for many of your works that has taken a look at the history of individuals and of organizations that have shaped Trinidad and Tobago. But I think there's more to the author that I would like to know. So I hope to welcome you back in the future to discuss your history, especially with what you were telling me in respect to your imprisonment
in Canada.
And I understand that you were pardoned 50 years later, over 50 years. So I think there's a lot more to the author that we have to learn. But for this particular work, Metal and Metal, thank you very much, sir. We look forward to it.
Thank you, sir. All right.
You keep well. Take care.
Well done, man. Okay. All right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, just to remind you once more, if you'd like to get a copy of Metal and Metal, and I really think that you should, it is available at the Trinidad All Stars Steel Pan, the orchestra at their headquarters at the corner of Duke and George Street. Mr. Rennie indicated that usually on a Friday he is there, so if you would like to get an autographed copy, you can probably meet him on a Friday to do just that. But of course, congratulations to Mr. Rennie, and we thank him once more, not only for joining us on the program this morning, but for sharing really a history and an understanding of how steel pan helped shape Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break here on AM Prime. We will return shortly to continue this morning's show. Stay with us.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Transform your home with PCU Plus. From stylish furniture to the latest appliances, we have everything you need to create your perfect space. At PCU Plus, we offer fair prices and affordable financing options that are cheaper than hire purchase agreements. With convenient locations in San Fernando, Tobago, Arima, and our lifestyle showroom in Barataria, you're never far from the best deals. Visit PCU Plus today and discover why we're the top choice for quality furniture and appliances. PCU Plus. Quality you trust, prices you'll love. Visit one of our locations or find us online to start transforming your home today.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas, and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Welcome back to AM Prime, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being with us this morning and for joining us on AM Prime. We're shifting gears now. We had a conversation about our history, our culture, and our identity. Now, let's speak about our future. Who is going to take the responsibility? Who is going to lead Trinidad and Tobago in mapping our future? We find ourselves in a very difficult position, to say the least. And it isn't easy when both political institutions, or both established political institutions themselves, can't find a unity. So who is going to take Trinidad and Tobago forward? I'm joined this morning by political analyst, a sight for sore eyes, an individual who has been absent from the scene for quite some time, but I'm glad he can join us on the program. Derek Ramsamouj is with us. Good morning, Derek, and it's good to see you after so long.
Good morning, Keaton, and to all your guys in this studio, listeners and viewers. It's a pleasure being here again.
Indeed, Derek. I don't know if you can answer that question for me, given all that is happening and all that we have seen recently, whether it be with the internal confusions of the People's National Movement, even with the United National Congress. Those are the established players in the game. But exactly who is going to be responsible, or who should be responsible in forging a pathway forward for Trinidad and Tobago, particularly in this dire situation we find ourselves in?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me on the program. We are not in a dire situation. When you look at what's happening in the globe, what we're experiencing is the normal part of politics and economic development. We are seeing the evolution of our political parties. If we look at United Kingdom, for example, we have seen so many political leaders in a short space of time. Remember, all politics is based on conflict, and you need a leadership that can manage that conflict to create a consensus that will get public goods and services to our people. So what we're seeing in the PNM, like the UNC, are different types of evolutionary patterns within the politics of their parties. We are also witnessing the media basically participating in political hype, as opposed to educating the population as to this is part of the evolution of our society and of the political parties trying to expand their dynamics of their party to win an election. Example, if you look at young Keaton, you look at his age group, you cannot expect, when you look at what's happening in the globe, you have younger leaders emerging who basically have crossed the natural political divides. Look at what Trump is happening with the Afro-Americans. So political parties must now become dynamic if they wish to hold power in the coming years and decades.
Now, you've said that the situation is not dire, and I could appreciate the context of which you've added to that. But what is the cost of these established political institutions evolving and becoming more dynamic? What is the cost associated with that?
One of the things we must understand in politics is people are always looking for something different. You hear, for example, I don't want Kamla, I don't want Rowley. With greatest respect, that's the street how the street described him. Not Dr. Rowley, not Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisasa. I don't want. However, there is a bigger issue. People can't tell you what they want. So leaders of a political party are mostly concerned about their political legacy as they deliver public goods and services to the population. So responsible leaders must look to see how they guide their party forward. It's not dire. Look at the situation with Kamala Harris, how she emerged as the Democratic presidential candidate. A crisis occurred that the whole world thought was dire, and in a couple of weeks' time, it settled down. So politics will always have consequences. It is how leadership manage the transition. What we are seeing is an attempt within the PNM to say in 2 years' time, we will have to look at the changing of the leadership. And therefore, let's see who may or may not emerge. You see, the media is focusing on these are the two front runners. You never could tell in 2 years' time who may emerge. What is the internal political dynamics? So we all love theater, political theater, the intrigue, the bacchanal. But let's look at who could A, win an election nationally, B, manage the affairs of this country as we move forward. We got to recognize we are an energy type economy that is attempting to diversify, the bastardized word in politics, diversify. But we also have got to get a clear, not a single seat parliamentary majority, but a workable majority that can bring the type of legislation required to transform our society.
Now, politics is chaos. I am not one to, I don't necessarily appreciate the theater or the drama. I appreciate stability. But I do understand your explanation, having studied political science myself. In that regard, how do political parties or political institutions establish themselves in short time frames? Even leadership or fresh leadership or new leadership, what is necessary or required for them to establish themselves in a short time frame? 2 years is not necessarily a lot of time for new leadership or political institution to gather that anchor that is necessary to go forward.
In political war, I have a limited amount of time to conquer the minds, not of my party, but of the swing voters, the Gen Z voters now. So all I need is to rent their support in their mind space until the election day. Remember, there is nothing static, and that's the issue we're facing. The static of our political parties and the psychology of our voters versus the change that is required to stabilize the country in going forward, as opposed to a politics on a knife's edge, which is what we all have been accustomed to in the last 10, 15 years of a 1-seat or 2-seat majority, and the failures of political parties who've had a clearer, larger working majority that could bring about the transition required. Because the status quo, the stakeholders buy the political parties and buy the political leadership in exchange for political patronage.
I like that term that you used in renting the mind space of Gen Z voters until the election date. Do you think that Gen Z voters are a bit different, that they are, however, now focusing more and more beyond the election date, that 5 years are becoming more and more of the critical viewpoint of the current generation of voters and possibly the future generation of voters?
The Gen Z voters and post-Gen Z voters, whose classification we still have to hear, basically are an instant society. The notion of technology in which we make decisions based on information in a split second. So no one is going to listen to a 3-minute ad or read a manifesto. I have to convince you in the characters of a tweet or X of why you should vote for me or not vote for me. So you're dealing with an instant society. We're also dealing with a highly strong capitalist and technological society. So political patience of their parents and grandparents are traits that they do not possess.
So Derek, going forward, are you in a position to really answer the question as to whether, as if you see any institution, established or not, actually building a platform appealing to the future vote and really sharing thoughts or perspectives that are critical in forging a pathway forward for TNT? Have you seen that, or are you seeing that at all?
There are two mechanisms to make the political parties relevant to the majority of the electorate. Not the majority of the voting electorate, but the majority of the 1.2 million persons who are eligible to vote at least. One, you take an existing party, superimpose new leadership on it, transform the democracy or the democratic values in that party to increase its relevance. So it starts with new leadership. It starts with new ways of bringing about change and how people participate in that process for their demands to be converted into reality. Or two, the creation of a new entity that can perhaps break both traditional value systems and a younger voter. If you remember Macron was in his late 30s, okay? When you look at Trudeau, when you look at Rishi Sunak, they were much younger men, but men of political pedigree and men of a political understanding of what was needed. For that to also emerge, you have to take the base of one of the existing parties and put a new political ethos on top of that. Now, That's a lot of theory and a lot of democracy. But the question is, do we have the economic condition to bring about the change? And while people say things are hard, when compared globally, we are still doing well. When you look at our housing, yes, we may not have the kind of housing, right? We may not have the cost of inflation of food and energy, making it difficult for your pay package to give you a quality of life that you're accustomed to, right? The issue we have is choices. We believe things are bad when we don't have the choice to decide which fast food we eat. Not a question of whether we have food in our stomach and a good health. We expect the state, because the way we have grown up, where housing, education, healthcare, transport, energy must be subsidized by the state. But when you look at the global economy, the time to make that transition where self-sufficiency must be the order of the day. Removing workfare programs like CPEP and URP. I'm not saying not to have a social conscience for the people who can't genuinely afford. But people now must increase the productivity of our country. So you need a leader or a team of persons who can increase the productivity of this country. Yes, we have the argument about the 1%ers. But which Trinidad citizen and Tobago citizen do not want to be part of the 1%ers? Translate that into a thinking of becoming wealthy, not rich, wealthy. There is a fundamental difference where you're not buying a foreign used car, but you're learning to trade on the stock market and have enough dispensable income to go global in your trading pattern.
It's a very, very intriguing perspective that you laid out this morning, and it really is very different to what we are normally accustomed to hearing. But now you have me curious, if Trinbagonians, or the average Trinbagonian, is not necessarily receptive to the change that is happening, or not wanting to be receptive or responsible, understanding their role in what is happening, do you think that Trinbagonians will also be receptive or accepting of new leadership, younger leadership? You've used the example of Rishi Sunak and Emmanuel Macron, but in Trinidad and Tobago, do you think that the current psyche would be adoptive of such younger leadership?
That's the hypocrisy that exists in our society at the community level. We can all recall in 1986, long before you were born, we had an economic crisis, and the then administration removed the cost of living allowance. They tried to bring about the transformation of the economy that the society rejected. And that's one of the things in understanding the political strategy. You have to give the society time to evolve, time to understand what is needed. So when a leader says, it is my intention X number of months or years going forward, we need to consider X, Y, Z. And I'm beginning to prepare my political party to understand it's not a Afrocentric dominated institution that drives the thinking in our society. You first got to prepare your party. That's your base. Then you've got to convince the undecided voters to trust you in bringing about the transformation that is needed. Also in the political context of doing what is needed to win my marginal seats in my middle class elements of those marginal seats, or of your generation who wanted to earn US dollars at least so you could afford to enjoy the niceties of the first world. So these things don't appear overnight. It takes a lot of time messaging to people in different communities. Now, do we have a situation where the traditional history of the PNM being seen as Afrocentric or the UNC being as Indocentric and you have the mixed population falling somewhere in between, do we have a situation is what if the politics were to change and we were to have a non-East Indian as the head of the UNC and a non-Afro-Trinidadian as the head of the PNM? Then what does that do to the political ethos of your generation and of your children's generation? Sometimes you have to force change, to bend people's arms politically, not give them a choice in the matter.
That concept there is using more and more of a not necessarily an iron fist, but if you're not giving people choice, do you think that in itself is what Trinbagonians need? We've become so accustomed to choice. Now we're not happy when we don't have choice. You yourself just said that.
Is it choice or laziness? Is it choice or laziness? We all heard, you're a young student in international relations, we all heard of the model of Singapore. But what occurred in Singapore was Lee Kuan Yew. Lee Kuan Yew, who decided this is how my society must move forward. Yes, I know times have changed and we can't keep looking backwards. But if you look at the type of society that experienced a transformation, you may not agree with their politics. You look at what we saw with Burnham and Chagan, what we saw in Barbados at one point in time with that Arthur benefited. You look at Manley, right? You look at Siaga. You look at Eric Williams. You look at Bastille Pandey. You needed leadership of distinction that had a vision for their society and who had the strength of capacity to carry it forward. You see, status quo politics over the last 60 years, from 1956 to now, more than 60 years, have not generated a society in which we can stand, have our value systems. We talk about production, tolerance, and discipline, right? Tolerance. We have national institutions are not going to tolerate a non-Afro-Trinidadian as head of the PNM or a non-Indo-Trinidadian as head of the UNC, right? Production. Look at our productive capacity and the role of our trade unions, not increasing the productivity of our country, but in that of always demanding higher wages without comparable increase of productivity. It's so bad, my friend, that if you look at the private sector, many decades we thought there was a difference between how private sector produced labor and how efficient they were, as opposed to public sector. Now, there is a convergence in the productivity level between private sector and public sector. Time management in this country, whether it's traffic or whether it's people's capacity to produce at 8 o'clock, is indeed wanting if we wish to be global in our earnings.
Well, Derek, moving forward, my final question to you is, if it is that we find leaders currently adopting or using an approach that is very much appealing to the masses, or as we argue, very much appealing to their base, do you think that anytime soon we are going to see a leader breaking away from the status quo? And if so, do you think that there will be a level of welcome and acceptance? If Trinbagonians aren't happy right now, do you think that Trinbagonians will still be very much happy if an actual new offering is put forward to them?
The simple answer to that is no. The simple answer is, if you want to bring about the change, you have to collectively take the population along a pathway of autocracy. Because a very simple thing, if you basically have to remove it's my time now, right? We change the government and therefore we change the boards, therefore we change the benefits of the beneficiaries of patronage. if we can't break that cycle, it becomes difficult. So the first element in moving forward is where you help societies and communities understand their responsibility. A very simple thing. Look at the property tax and the fiasco it created. The population who wish to benefit financially from a better and safer and cleaner community are saying, it's not my responsibility to fill out my property tax form. It's you, the government responsibility, who've got to send me that bill. If you're the beneficiaries, why don't you want to participate in the process that may lead to a nicer community? So it tells you the lack of responsibility of the citizens by simply saying, I vote for you. So in my 30 seconds of renting my vote, I absolve myself from all responsibility for running this country.
Just let me clarify. You said autocracy, right?
Autocracy.
So just clarify.
Oh, hold on, let me be clear. I'm going to put you in trouble here. Democracy is a myth, you know.
No, I understand that.
No, because if you look at the US that propagates itself as being very democratic, right? How was Kamala Harris selected? I mean, you have questions about how democratic is the democratic system or the system of governance in the United States, right? Look at Rishi Sunak. He emerged as leader by members of parliament voted to support him to be leader, not for the Conservative Party rank and file to vote for him. Okay? So we have these myths that exist. Autocracy is you allowing the population to participate in the process, but you are the guiding hand. Politics is about the manipulation of the mind, working on the emotional needs of the people and their fears. And you may have the debate to occur. The debate will happen. You could put yourself forward. But at the end of the day, in our societies, like Trinidad, it's money politics that drive the decision-making process of how the public benefits.
So Derek, let me ask you, I know that I said that was my final question, but you know, I have to get this out of my mind. To what extent do you think Trinidad is a practicing democracy? Is it just a democracy when it comes to the vote, and then we evolve into an autocracy afterwards? Or do you think that we still can consider ourselves fortunate due to democratic principles that exist?
We have an effective and efficient voting system that is not tampered with. So I am not talking about the art of voting. It's a democratic voting process. What I am talking about is how decisions are made, in whose interest the decisions are made, and what is the level of influence to manipulate the decision-making process. We talk about a public procurement legislation framework, but that does not mean it's immune from levels of influence. Let's be real. To start with, the population need to be honest with themselves. First as individuals, then communities, then stakeholders, then whichever political entity you believe has the policies that can improve your life and can deliver to the population. The level of dishonesty that exists facilitates the manipulation by the unseen hands.
Derek, listen, I want to thank you very much for joining me on the program this morning, for sharing a different perspective. Thank you very much indeed. I mean, I for one can appreciate that, but I hope that our viewing audience understands exactly what you've put forward this morning. Thank you so much for your time and for your presence on the Airlink.
It's my pleasure. Have a good morning, and let's keep safe. All the best.
All the very best to you. Take care and keep well.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, please digest that interview with Derek Ramsmooch. Please digest what he has said. And I think the most important thing is I hope it really stimulated your mind. And right now you're developing your opinions and your thoughts as per what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago, and perhaps what is necessary from now going forward. Let us take a break here on the program on routine. It's Wild Wednesday. Stay tuned for more after this.
Come travel with us as we explore Diwali across the globe. Diwali is celebrated in many countries worldwide, but do you know the traditions and practices of each nation? From Guyana to Australia, WESN presents Diwali Passport.
October 9th to October 30th, with replays on October 31st.
It's Diwali Passport, a WESN exclusive.
The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
Welcome back to AM Prime, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sitting on, you're probably wondering, oh, why is Keaton looking so stiff this morning? Why is Keaton sitting on a couch? Well, it's because it's Wild Wednesday. I don't know how Ricardo got me to agree to this one. But then again, I don't know how he gets me to agree to a lot of the animals he brings on set. Thank God he hasn't brought any cockroaches as yet. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome to the program once more. Why we missed that for? Oh. Ricardo Mead. And our good friend, introduce yourself, my dear.
Oh, my name is Leanne.
Leanne, nice to meet you. And who are these two wonderful creatures that you brought with us? I know what they are. What are their names?
This is Pine and this is Ginger. They are twins, so the names are Pine and Ginger.
Wonderful. Okay, exactly I don't want to get it confused. I'm going to say pigs, but that might be offensive. So tell me exactly.
Yes, so good morning to everyone. Thank you for having us here again. It's another episode of Wild Wednesday. I think it's all last for the year.
It's all last for the year.
Last Wild Wednesday
for
the year.
Isn't that depressing and sad?
And a bit, yeah. So we started off with, according to you guys, a kobo, black vulture, and we end with pigs. But they're not really pigs. They're actually peccary, colored peccary, or wild hog, also known as quank, 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 right? So these are our local guys. Unfortunately, we have more and more animals being imported, smuggled in illegally from Venezuela, and people don't even know the difference anymore. Ours are smaller and a lot cuter. The colored peccary, the ones from Venezuela are the white-lipped peccary. They're a lot bigger, longer snout, different animal. Same family, different animal.
I was just about to say, these animals are quite cute, but not accustomed to what you would see or what people would talk about.
Yeah, many people are getting accustomed to the Veni ones now, and it's quite sad. But these are ours, our local animals, very, very important in our ecosystem, creating the forests that they live in. And people need to know and understand that tremendously. You want to lie down? Good, lie down. There you go. These guys are quite nice, quite socialized for us to be able to bring them out. And, it does a great job with them. And she thinks she's a bit of a lap dog here. You want to touch her? Go ahead.
Sure.
Give her a little pet there.
Yeah, of course. Hello.
Again, she only bites on Wednesdays.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So Come on, let's go. Right here.
The mohawk.
The mohawk, yeah.
Are we going to get a yawn? Are we going to get another yawn? We missed that earlier. Hello.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, he's warming up to you.
Gosh.
There you go. See, it's a good thing you're a vegetarian, eh?
Yeah, I think I'm not going to put my fingers there right now. Maybe.
Right? Yeah. But it's just, these are some of our just amazing animals. And when we go to a display with these animals, I mean, almost none of the animals seem to exist because people have never had a chance to see these animals up close, a chance to touch them, a chance to feed them, and feel the coarseness of their it's almost like a porcupine's spines.
It really is, isn't
coarse.
it?
It's just amazing animals, and what they do to bring awareness that people are out there killing these animals year round, and soon we will have none in Trinidad at the rate that they're going.
Is that bad?
Well, there's none in Tobago. There are little sightings here and there, but they've basically been declared extirpated. That means they're no longer these animals in any significant quantities to be sustainable in Tobago. So you can't find wild hog in Tobago anymore.
Wow.
So we always say, when we talk about extinction and animals dying out, we always think about the Sumatran rhino, the white rhino, this giraffe. We have animals right here in our country, in our ecosystem, that are being wiped out. And they're amazing animals. Okay? Now, I am not I'm not vegetarian. So I don't have a problem eating meat. In fact, I have to prepare so much meat for my animals on a daily basis. It's just ridiculous how much meat we have to prepare because the hawks, the owls, the falcons, the monkey, so many animals eat meat. That's just a part of it. But there is something called sustainability, which is something we need to get a good grasp on in this country. Things have to be sustainable, else we're going to lose it. Okay? So you want to hunt, yes, but what are your efforts to preserve what you are actually hunting? If there is no more to hunt, then what are you going to do? Hang up your guns and play hopscotch? So the efforts have to be all wrong, and people, not just the conservationists, the hunters have to become conservationists and manage themselves and people around them to ensure that these animals stick around. So if you're not doing that, then you probably need to put down your guns and try to pick up a breeding program so that we can have these animals in our ecosystem way into the future.
Now, Leanne, you've worked very closely with these animals.
Yes.
And, I mean, they seem very socialized, but out in the wild, I know people hunt them.
Yes.
But what is happening there, as Ricardo was speaking? Are they venturing more and more into urbanized areas? Or is it that they're trying to get as far away from us as possible? We're just going after them.
It's a little of both because, like, with more hunters going into their territory, they're either dropping food, then they're following the food trail, and then when people see wild animals, they're first saying, "Oh, let's feed it, let's take it, let's kill it." So it's hard for them to find a secluded area to live because everything's being intruded on them. Hunters or just not tourists, but like locals just going into their habitats. destroying their habitats, either leaving litter and stuff everywhere. So they never have a safe space anymore. It's hard for them to find their own in the forest. Like it's no area is quiet enough for them. So that's why they're finding it hard to thrive. Like he said, there's none in Tobago. Like there's no sanctuary for them anymore. So they're trying hard to keep their numbers up in Trinidad, but it's really hard with everybody coming into their habitat, destroying it, hunting them. So, and that's why they'll become so aggressive in the wild, because they're trying to protect what little territory they have. That's why if you see one in the wild, they're not going to be this sweet. They'll be a lot more aggressive. They will defend their territory and their pack, their family, because they live in groups. So, and they all have a particular smell on them, so they will know if you intrude on their space, because each family of quinks always gives off a particular smell on each other.
A unique smell?
Yeah, they have a little scent gland on their back. I don't know if you could see that right there. Yeah. And
musket out there, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a little hole on their back, and they will rub on each other, and every Quankini family will have that particular smell. Yeah. I probably have that smell with them.
Well, it seems as though you're very much family with them.
Yeah. They will rub on me the same way they rub on each other to release the scent. I get it a lot.
You've certainly made some close family members there. But also, you've really, because of how, calm they are, that relationship that you have with them, that human-animal relationship, is not something that you often see. Did you have to, train these dogs? Were they born in captivity? How did they come into your life?
Well, their mom actually got injured by the group. Sometimes the groups will turn on a mother and kill her babies in order to breed with her again. So that's what happened in their case. They wanted to breed the mom again, but they didn't like the babies. She had them at night, and a fight broke out, and she got injured, so she had to be removed from the group. They were bred in captivity, but they were not tamed in captivity. They were just for conservation. They were all together, but they turned on the mom. She got injured, she had to be removed, and then these two had to be removed because the group was trying to attack them. And because the mom was injured, she could not take care of them, so I had to step in and take care of them. So they had to be bottle fed every 2 hours, just like a baby. And with them, because they're so social, you have to interact with them every day to get them this tame or this calm with you. You can't just leave them alone. You have to bring them out, interact with them. That's why kids are allowed to pet them and touch their face and their teeth and everything, and they don't bite. They've had a lot of practice with kids. I've practiced with my niece and nephew who are 2 and 3, and they've been putting their hands in their mouth and everything, and they're really good at it.
So what is that noise that we're hearing from them? What's that?
That's their teeth.
Yeah.
That's just their teeth hitting?
Yeah,
it's a clank. Like if you go
communication
with your mouth, they do it as well. Sometimes it shows curiosity, excitement. Then it could also mean an aggressive one. They have a different sound for each emotion they go through.
He also seems to be rather, territorial in the sense that he wants to have post Ricardo, and
he loves it.
But I've noticed that they have a excellent sense of smell, because she's picking all those apples right there.
Yeah, she's smelling it. That's why she came down.
So it's good. Just keep your arm open.
Just keep it open like this?
Yeah, let's see. Look at it. Look at it. There's food. He's got food. He's got food. Keep it open. And there we go.
She knows not to bite fingers. So even if you stuck your fingers in her mouth, she just spit it out and get the apple.
Really?
Right,
yeah.
Give it a shot again.
Let's try that again.
Yeah.
Here you go. Wait, you have to go for that one. So, okay, I noticed that you're feeding them apples, but generally, what else do they eat? Are they omnivores, herbivores, carnivores?
A little bit of omnivores, but these guys, they mainly love their fruits and vegetables, but they can eat roots and grubs in the ground, little insects or worms.
So they can source a forage, essentially?
Yes. So they have a strong snout or nose, if you look. It's very tough. So they'll use it to dig in the ground, move the dirt or the soil, get to the roots of trees or vegetable roots, and just eat all that in the ground. And then, so besides fruits, they eat vegetables, root vegetables, basically insects,
Good.
Yeah. And when they dig in the ground, they will find other insects.
All right.
I know, you want some too.
No, this actually really, as I said, you're not going to see this in the wild. So, we're doing this for educational purposes. We're doing this so that you guys have some level of education and understanding. We're bringing about awareness, we're spreading awareness. But what you're seeing here is not what you're going to experience in the wild. So please, please, we're very fortunate that we're able to experience this. Don't go and try and hug a peccary in the wild, please. Whatever you may call it, peccary quench, don't go and try and do that. But Ricardo, these are absolutely incredible animals, and it's such a privilege that we're able to even share this experience. But the unfortunate thing is, given the trends and given what you've spoken about, there's a possibility we might not have these creatures with us in the distant future. Well, distant or near, given how things are going.
Yeah, and so again, the word sustainability comes up. Put programs in place where we can preserve our animals. And while people might say they have the same thing in Venezuela, the DNA is going to be different. The animal, the genetic code is going to be different. The stuff from Venezuela is not Trinidadian. We have unique representations of these animals that we have in South America because, again, when Trinidad broke off from Venezuela, the land mammals were not able to integrate and share genetic material. So ours in our little pool would have developed quite differently. That's why so many of our mammals are slightly or sometimes even significantly different. We looked at the southern tamandua. We spoke about monkeys. There's so much. So these could be very different from those. So it would be a very big mistake to bring ones from Venezuela to try and replace what we have here. In other words, we will lose our stuff and replace it with something else. And then that genetic code, that animal will be lost forever.
That is really sad. There seems to be a lack of appreciation for these animals.
Correct.
Yeah, they're obviously misunderstood as well. Before working so closely with them, they're actually very intelligent animals, and they have such a sweet nature to them. But obviously, we only see the ones in the wild, and you never get up close and personal with one to really see their features and their personality. But they're highly intelligent. They can understand a few words sometimes. And they're like, they basically can act like this with the right amount of love and attention. But obviously you don't want to do that to the ones in the wild. You want to keep them wild. But the ones that rehabilitate, we try to work with them as much as possible so they can still have that interaction and they're just not locked up because they can't be released. You got to work with them.
They can't be released.
No, they can't. They would not know how to survive on their own. I tried reintroducing them to the group at a young age, but they just weren't accepted and they just didn't know how to defend themselves, so I had to...
In the wild, they remain in packs?
Yes, in families, yeah.
In families. I think this is incredible. Now let me speak about a bit of a pet peeve of yours. And that's hunting in TNT. We mentioned this at the beginning. Yeah. These animals under hunting licenses, they're allowed to be hunted, right? But there are no regulations to actually control how many of these animals are hunted.
There's no bag limits. Nobody controls or regulates your take. So if you are a skilled hunter or a lucky hunter and you stumble upon a family group, 13, and you have enough people there with enough guns, you can kill all of them. Mother, baby, you can kill a newborn. You can kill a lactating mother. You can kill a pregnant mother. It does not matter. There are no specific regulations that guide what you should and should not do. And sadly, besides the regulations, the people who claim to be hunters, and they're very few because most people are poachers. Straight up, they're poachers. But the few hunters do not provide enough education for themselves about these animals. All they want to know is the best way to find them and kill them. Okay, should you kill this one? Should you kill that one? Should you be trapping them and determine, okay, this is a mother who's probably lactating, we should leave her alone. Okay, if you do not preserve what you hunt, soon you will have nothing to hunt. It's simple as that. It's the same reason why you cannot hunt deer in Tobago and you can't hunt wild hog in Tobago. There's just none. None.
There's no deer in Tobago either.
No deer in Tobago, no. And they try to reintroduce deer. Maybe one day we'll be lucky. But the deer, the story of the deer, gets me a little, teary-eyed because, of a couple who did a lot for conservation in Trinidad, farming wild animals. And earlier this year, hunters went to their place, fence place, cut the fence, went in there and shot 17 deer.
Yeah.
Killed them and removed them. So it gets me so angry. It gets me so upset that these people are so narrow-minded and so idiotic that they cannot see the benefit. And most people in Trinidad who have had deer in captivity would have gotten from these people. Now that they're elderly and they could hardly do it, basically it was a home invasion. People invaded their homes and killed the animals out. So they're now out of wildlife farming. So another blow to conservation and the efforts to keep these animals alive in Trinidad and Tobago.
Why are these creatures so important to our ecosystem and our environment?
Just by their survival, their existence, what they do. They're grubbing, they're digging into the soil with their noses, they're aerating the soil, they're removing a lot of pests, so that's the nature part of the balance. They're eating a lot of the fruits and vegetables and so on. They're doing seed dispersal. A lot of the seeds pass through their gut. They have a very complicated stomach, but the seeds pass through, and they walk from here, they walk a lot. So they're dispersing the seeds all over the place. These are part of the animals responsible for helping the forest stay the green forest that it is, with a lot of diversity. Else we'll end up with just a sort of monoculture in the forest. So they eat seeds here and deposit it there, they eat grasses here and deposit there, just all day long. They're walking. Even when they walk, it's ground, their feet, their toes create little holes and so on that a little water would store in. And when seeds and so on sit in there now, they have a better place to germinate and so on. It's just it's so diverse what they do in an ecosystem. And sadly to think now, all of that is not happening in Tobago, because they are no longer there. And they're no deer also. They also have the same sort. They do almost the same thing as deer, but they do a little more with digging into the soil and so on like that there. So if in 20 years there's a report that comes out and said Tobago's forests are dying, the main ridge isn't as diverse and green, and a lot of plants are disappearing, you'll understand why.
Leanne, this seems to be very personal to you. It seems to really affect you.
Yeah, just because it's just really sad, because these are animals that are unique to Trinidad. Like, if we have tourists in the future, they probably will not see them if things keep going the way they are. And then the more their habitat decreases or we encroach on it, the more they will sometimes come into populated areas, and then people will be like, oh, they're pests, they're coming too close to the houses or the kids and stuff like that. If they have nowhere to go, like, what do you expect? And then they get mistreated so badly. People just look at them and they're just like, oh, they're just a dumb pig. They don't know anything. But they're really is a very complex and intelligent creature. But nobody takes the time to really understand our wildlife, especially our local wildlife. There's so much in Trinidad that we have to offer, so many different animals, but nobody really cares. Nobody takes time to research. Like if I bring them to events, a lot of adults was like, oh, I didn't even know we had these, or that's just thing to kill or eat or put in a pot. Like nobody takes a time to really ask about them, what they do for Trinidad, what they do for the ecosystem. They just see them as food or just a dumb animal. And I think Trinidad needs to get educated a lot more on our local wildlife, how to protect them, how to understand them, so that the younger generation can preserve it. Because I have more kids coming up to me asking questions about them, seeing how they want to be vegan, they don't like eating meat, and the adults are the ones that, oh, just kill it. But the younger kids are now starting to be like, oh no, I can't kill an animal, I'm vegan, or they have much more respect for the animal. So I'm hoping there's hope for the younger generation to respect our animals.
I was just about to ask, how do we save Tobago based off of what Ricardo has, mentioned this morning? Very little to no wild boars, peccaries, squanks, no deer.
Yeah.
No deer.
How you go about now?
Well, they tried before to introduce the white-tailed deer from Florida, and as soon as they were put into the ecosystem, they were killed out. So there has to be much more protection, much more enforcement, and the legislation that goes along with it to ensure that these animals can be reintroduced into the wild and do what they're supposed to do to keep the main ridge, that beautiful space that back in 1775, the British decided, it's amazing, we need to preserve
the main
it.
ridge is world famous, and yet there's very little protection there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is incredible, isn't it? We tout it. We speak about it all the time.
Right, yeah. It's a reason why so many people come in here on these cruise ships, and yet we're not giving it the protection that it needs. And that is just sad. It's crazy.
I need to change there was a tune that came out, Main Ridge, nobody lives there. Yes, there are no deer that lives there.
Right, yeah.
I know, it's so sad, but back to these wonderful creatures. They seem to be so relaxed and happy this morning.
But they love people, because they've been around people.
They just seem so relaxed.
People are more what they would consider their family, their pack, because they've been around people so much.
But are they, is this the biggest they get?
No, they will actually get fatter. Not taller, but they could put on a bit more size. They can weigh between like 30 pounds to 60 pounds. These guys are like 30, 31, so they still have a bit more to go. They're only a little over 2 years. So.
You don't want any more?
Right.
Here you go. There you go. Yeah.
It's like I'm eating it just because you're giving it to me, but I don't really want it.
She doesn't want any more. She doesn't want it. All right, okay. Guys, this has really been an absolute pleasure. I mean, apart from learning so much, I've also seen some really wicked hairstyles this morning. They've got a little more happening. But it's really a privilege that we get to interact with these creatures. So, Ricardo, it's been a wonderful 3-4 months.
Yeah.
We've been able to do a lot. We've been able to bring a lot, educate and inform the public. I can't thank you and the volunteers enough for what you all have done on a Wild Wednesday. 2023 has been, it's challenging year, but the fact that we've been able to do this every single Wednesday,
yeah.
I'm certainly appreciative.
I've missed a beat. That's great. Thank you guys for the opportunity to do this. Our focus is education, conservation through education. By teaching people, we're reaching people and we're making a difference. And she knows the food is down there and she's like, what is there else for me to get? Yeah. Looking forward, wishing all our viewers, listeners, followers, supporters out there a wonderful, wonderful holiday season, whether you celebrate Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever it is, and look forward to meeting and greeting each and every one of you for 2024. And hopefully we continue this amazing program, Wild Wednesday, here every Wednesday morning, and reach and teach more people to the point where we're going to reach the right people and teach the right people, and they're going to start to make the right decisions to preserve not just wildlife, but
it's like he was giving his grand speech, man. Come on.
Right? So much here in Trinidad and Tobago going forward. He's like, yeah, give me food, give me food, give me food. Yeah. Yeah. You see, yes. You see where when you're having pizza and you're grabbing more than your share and they say, hey, you're behaving like a pig. There you go right there. But, so you understand where a lot of this comes from. So thank you very much.
No, thank you guys very much. Leanne, I mean, thank you so much for bringing. Well, I mean, I kind of want to keep them here and just
they would love
play with them for the because there's absolutely incredible creatures down there. And as you said, they're intelligent. Look at this. I mean, I'm so intrigued alone by the snout,
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just the muscular movements and how tough it is.
It's so hard.
But I mean, really, thank you for all that you're doing and have done. And look forward to welcoming you back to Wild Wednesdays in 2024.
Very excited.
Some more cool stuff. And no more food.
I hope you guys come back. Yeah, you guys will come back, won't you?
Once there's food.
Yeah. Once there's food around, she'll be around, right?
I've been seeing the same thing for a while. Once WSN has food, I'll be here. But anyway, Ricardo, to you and the rest of the volunteers, have a safe Christmas, an enjoyable Christmas, and all the best heading into 2024. We look forward to Wild Wednesdays in 2024.
Definitely look forward to being here come January.
I'm not no dentist, but I think you have good teeth.
Amazing.
They get regular checkups.
Anyway, guys, yes, Merry Christmas to you too. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's been another fantastic Wild Wednesday. Thank you very much for joining us on AM Prime. I think everyone wants to eat some apples now. I think I'm going to join them. But have a great day ahead, a safe day ahead. And we thank all at the El Socorro Center for Wildlife Conservation. And we look forward to Wild Wednesdays in 2024. I'm Keaton Shaw. Bye-bye.
WESN.
The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, Contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing@wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the game.
not
Let's go to the last part.